Today we're talking with Becca Ravera from Real Broker. Becca has sold over 600 short sales throughout her 16-year career and has personally sold more short sales every single year than any other agent in the state of Maryland for the past 10 years in a row. Today we're going to be picking her brain about working with short sales and how she does this with just herself and 7 admin. Becca, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm really excited about this conversation. I've been working more with virtual assistants and admin, and I really want to kind of pick your brain about what your business looks like. You might kind of start off, give us a quick overview of what your business is set up, how your business is set up, and what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my 16th year in real estate. In the first 2 years, I didn't do too much. And then about 14 years ago, I did my first short sale and I fell in love. And so I actually have 2 businesses. I have my real estate business where I list and process short sales because realtors can't negotiate. We process short sales. And then I have a third-party short sale negotiation company where we negotiate short sales for other realtors and their clients. And we started that in March of 2020. So it's a pretty large business that we have. For the real estate listing business, we just do Maryland, but for the negotiation business, we do Maryland, DC, Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. We tried Colorado, but it was a little bit too far for us. We're not ready for that yet, but soon, hopefully.
Wow, that's huge. So 2 separate businesses. I love that. And what's your primary source of lead generation? How are you getting all these short sales?
Yeah. So for my listing business, honestly, 95% of it is word of mouth and referrals, and they come from a lot of real estate investors. So the We Buy Houses signs that you see everywhere, the guys that are cold calling all the lists, when they come across a homeowner that's in a short sale situation, they'll go ahead and refer them to us. We'll work for the seller. We represent them. We process the entire short sale. If the investor can buy it, fantastic. That's inventory for them, and they can take a dilapidated property and renovate it and bring it back to life and help grow these neighborhoods. And if they cannot, then we'll go ahead, we'll get it back active on the market for other potential buyers and, help these homeowners avoid foreclosure.
Yeah, I love that. Short sale is such a great option, and a lot of homeowners aren't even aware that that's an option for them. So I feel like you are doing a really good service for folks, and you're helping people get affordable housing with short sales. And very cool. And you said that you do a lot of networking events as well. Is that a big part of your lead generation process?
It is. So because we don't do cold calling or very much actual hands-on lead generation ourselves. And like I said, most of my business is word of mouth and referral. I probably go to 1 to 2 networking events a week. And every time I go to an event, I end up getting 1 or 2 short sales. So it definitely helps and works for us. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a great lead generation. It's just going to networking events and meeting people, having some drinks, socializing, making friends. Everybody thinks that lead generation has to be a grind and you door knocking, cold calling. But I love that you can just go and just network and just meet people. And that can be your entire business model right there.
Yeah. And it's cool because when I started doing short sales, I just got a couple and I just was doing them. And then all of a sudden people started to know who I was and they heard my name. And, I look up one day and everybody knows who I am in the short sale world in Maryland. So I was like, oh, wow. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's neat.
I love that. And what's really unique is that you're doing it just yourself and then 7 admin. Can you dive into that? What kind of work are they doing? Are they all virtual assistants or any of them in person?
Yeah. So truthfully, my admin, they run the business. They're amazing. I don't know how I would be able to function without them. So I have 2 people that are here in Maryland with me, and then the other 5 are in the Philippines. And so I have Rachel, who does all of our lead intake and answers all of our calls. She's here with me pretty consistently throughout the week. Alicia manages all of my listing business. So when we do get a short sale listing, she handles the paperwork and communication with the lenders and getting everything submitted to the banks. I have 2 VAs, which their only job Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, is to call and harass these mortgage companies. So they're calling each lender 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week to make sure nothing's missing, move the files forward, and most importantly, to make sure there's no foreclosure sale dates scheduled in the properties. Oh. I have another admin, Mikey, who is amazing. she'll joke around and be like, I'm your Siri, because anything that I need, technology, property questions, file questions, she can handle all of that. She is awesome. So she kind of manages most of the VAs. And then we just brought on another VAG, and she's helping with all of our title searches, because we've gotten so much inventory and so many transactions lately that one of the first things we do when we get a file is we do a full title search on them, just to make sure there's no liens or judgments. And if there are, we need to negotiate those down as well to make the transaction work. I have not been able to keep up with that personally, because we do our own. We don't really outsource it. So we brought in G, and she is awesome. She worked with a title company for 6 years, so she's very well versed in that. And then we have another VA, Kel, who manages all of our payoffs and make sure that our files stay up to date and compliant and everything's good. So they're the reason the company runs the way that they do.
Yeah, I mean, you're giving them all the credits, but like, you're the one who trained them and built the systems and processes for them. So systems and processes is that a huge part of your business, like staying organized with all of this? And what kind of systems are you using to stay organized with all this?
So we currently have about 120 short sales that we're working on right now. And the system management, the management system that we use is NetHunt, which has a lot of automations and tasks and is able to collaborate. So we do a little bit of lead generation with Capital Short Sale Group, which is a third-party short sale negotiation company, and all of that kind of trickles through NetHunt as well. So whenever we need to call anytime a short sale is listed as active or coming soon, or even under contract, there's different drips that are then triggered for all of those, and NetHunt manages that as well. So it pretty much handles everything, and it's really customizable, which is great, because short sales are so different than any other real estate transaction. But if we don't have tasks and systems and processes, we're a mess. We're all over the place. With 120 regular transactions, that's a lot of work. Wow. But with short sales, I mean, it's insane. So we all have to keep each other accountable, and just stay on top of each other and make sure that we do our things.
Yeah, that's incredibly complicated. I would be so overwhelmed with that. And so when you have, let's say you hire a new admin, what does your training process look like for them? Do you create checklists or SOPs? Do you just hop on a lot of Zoom calls with them? How do you train an admin is from the Philippines in something as complicated as the short sale process?
So we really lucked out. My first VA experience was Mikey, who's my right hand, my Siri. And we ended up getting her by mistake. So I was working with a business coach, and she recommended this VA company to me. And the first person that I chose to hire, and we did a lot of interviews for VAs, the first person we chose to hire actually didn't show up on her first day to work. So the VA company apologized profusely, and they said, all right, well, we have this other person, Mikey. So we started working with Mikey. She was awesome. She picked up everything right away. And she used to work for an agent in California. So she was familiar with real estate in itself. And then after 2 weeks, Mikey was like, so I didn't know what I was signing up for, and I can't work for you guys anymore. She's like, I thought I was signing up for like one of those companies that will place you in other jobs, whereas like we would pay this company and they would pay a portion of that to Mikey. So, and that's what she wasn't interested in, because the pay she was getting was really, it was low compared to what her talents were.
Oh, and that's because you're using a third party
right. We were using a third party. Yeah. So she kind of broke up with us after 2 weeks. And I went to her and I was like, I need you. Like, we've spent 2 weeks training you. You've gotten everything. Like, we need you. So I had to go back to the third party company, because there was a clause in our contract stating that if we wanted to work with the VA outside of their company, we'd have to pay $10,000. But Mikey had actually never signed the contract to work with that company. So they were like, look, it was our fault. We didn't do our paperwork. You can work with her at your own leisure. Like, we'll step away. So that company was actually amazing, and super cooperative. But Mikey she is a unicorn of VA. She truly can handle anything. I don't know how I lucked out so much with her. And she builds all the trainings for the other VAs.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I lean on her heavily. I rely on her heavily. And she she gets mad at me sometimes because I'm like, I'd like to like talk to and work a little bit more directly with the other VAs we have. And she's like, no, you can't do that. Like, that's not your job. She keeps me on track of everything that I do. And sometimes I'll still sneak in and have conversations with the rest of the VAs and be like, hey guys, how are you? But she really keeps me on track of what I'm doing. And so like when we just brought G in, like Mikey handled all of that training. She would come to me and say, what do you want? What is this? What is that? And I would kind of like show Mikey what I wanted, and she would write out the whole training system. She is a godsend. She's amazing.
I love that so much. So you have your main VA that trains and manages your other VAs for you.
And she's actually become one of my best friends. She's been with me for 4 years now. We talk every day, even Saturdays and Sundays, about work and life and her kids. Her daughter, Sophia, she'll get on the chat. Sometimes she's 11 years old. She'll say, hi, Aunt Becca. And I'm like, oh my God, I have nieces even in Asia. So I love every bit of that.
That's amazing. That's adorable. Okay, cool. And where do you find VAs? Like, you have 7 or 5 of them now. What's your advice if somebody wants to go and find a VA? So Mikey owns a VA company called Bright Maven. Mm-hmm.
So most of the VAs have come from her, where she has trained and evaluated and taken care of just running background checks and everything on those VAs. She, who is our newest one, was a recommendation from somebody. She recently stopped working with another company and they wanted to help place her somewhere. So they called me and asked if I could take someone on, and I said, absolutely. But Mikey handles most of that for me, just sourcing other VAs. And it's been a whole new world for me, because the way she explains it is there's 2 types of VAs. There's the VAs that can handle the phones, answer the phones, do the cold calling, the lead generation, all of that kind of stuff. They have very little to no accent. And then the other VAs are more internal. They do the research, the title search, the paper processing, all of that. They may have heavier accents. So when we are thinking about bringing somebody on, she's like, okay, what role do you want them in? Because then I can pull them from this section, or I can pull them from this section and see what's the best fit for you. Yeah. So it's a lot to learn with hiring virtual assistants, because, you don't actually meet these people.
Yeah. I've heard you mention before that, you're in full work mode right now. You're working 12-hour days some days. What does a typical work day look like for you?
So I wake up at 5 a.m., whether I want to or not.
Yeah.
I don't even have to set an alarm. I'm up. And then I usually get in the office around 6:30, 7 at the latest. And the night before, I always write a to-do list, and it's always a whole page long. So I come in the office and I start trying to set up my day every morning. As soon as 9 o'clock hits, we get about 200 calls throughout the day. Rachel is very, very busy handling all the calls and the lead intake and all of that stuff. So our phone is constantly ringing off the hook. We have about 4 phone lines, and if Rachel can't get it, one of the VAs will pick up the phone, which is really cool.
Wait a second. Did you say you get 200 calls a day?
Yeah.
Of people with short sales or...
Well, think about it. So I have 2 businesses. So I have sellers calling, listing agents, buyers, title companies, mortgage companies are calling us, attorneys for different lien holders. So we are getting call after call after call. So, different real estate investors, people are constantly calling saying, hey, do you have any short sales that look like it's not going to go through, that are under contract that might be coming up that I might be interested in? So it is so many calls. I had to turn my phone off in order to do this podcast today, because otherwise it would just keep going. So I come in the office around 7, and I try to do the most labor intensive stuff in the morning, because that's when I have the most energy. All of the coffee. And then 9 o'clock, the phone starts ringing. What sets us apart from other agents that handle short sales or other short sale negotiation companies is we go to every appraisal and BPO for the short sale. So Monday I had 2 in DC. Yesterday I had 1 in Baltimore City. Today I have 1 in Silver Spring and Frederick. So it does keep me out of the office a lot. We tried to sort that out, but honestly, I'm the best person for that particular job, because I can point out the issues to the property, what needs to be done, why things are this way for this particular transaction. So when I come back in the office, I then have about 300 emails that I have to go through because I'm copied on every email for all of my teams. And then, I finish out the day typically around 8 o'clock. I'm exhausted, but I love it. And it's just, every day is a little bit different.
Yeah. So 5 a.m. to 8 p.m.
6:37 to 8 p.m. Yeah, every day. It was funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, man, when I first started short sales, I was like, this is great because I only have to work bank hours, right? Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Like, what real estate agent only has to work bank hours? And then we grew, and we grew, and we grew. And now, like, I'm not working bank hours anymore. And I miss that a little bit. But it's, I love it. It truly fills my cup to be in here negotiating short sales, doing everything I can to help these people. When I was a kid, my parents lost their home to foreclosure. So anything that I can do to help homeowners avoid that or get them out of this situation that they're in, like, it truly fills my cup.
Yeah, that's amazing that you found something that like you're passionate about and aligns with your strengths, which is being, adorable and super outgoing.
Problem solver. Yeah.
Problem solver. That's great. And so if somebody is a real estate agent and they get somebody they think would be a good fit for a short sale, what's that process look like? What would the next step be if they want to explore a short sale for their listing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some agents that are just uncomfortable taking short sales because they don't know the process. If that's the case, they'll refer to us. We love paying referral fees. But they're not that intimidating, especially when you can bring us in as a third-party negotiation company. Every lender has their own processes. Like, some properties need to remain on the market for a minimum of 15 days. Some are 7, some are 5 before the lender will even consider an offer. I would say the first step is to give me a call. We'll explain the whole process. We'll explain how we do title searches. We call these lenders multiple times a week. You'll get a full update every Friday. When it's under contract, the buyers and the buyer's agent are going to get a full update as well, so they're not driving the listing agent crazy, which is huge. And we pretty much handle everything from start to finish. The agent just handles listing the property, getting it on the market, getting it under contract, negotiating all of that, and then we handle everything else. When it's ready for settlement and we go to settlement, we still remain on the transaction 2 to 3 weeks after, just to make sure the loan's completely closed out, everything's zeroed out and finished. Because we've had a couple situations where, a week after closing, the bank was like, we didn't get anything, or they tried to say that there was still a balance left on the loan or something. So we make sure that everything's finalized before we step out of the transaction. And I know that there's a lot of noise and controversy about commissions now and buyer's agent compensation and all of that. With short sales, the mortgage companies are still paying the full commissions that they would typically pay. A lot of companies are still paying 6%. Some will knock it down to 5%, but it's nice because the buyer's agent is also taken care of and getting that compensation as well. So, because a lot of agents will ask me about that, like, how does the buyer get compensated? The mortgage company still handles a lot of that now, which is great.
Yeah, very cool. Well, what are the if somebody wants to reach out to you as a short sale negotiator, what are the states that you cover again, and then what's your contact information? Yeah,
so we do Maryland, DC, Virginia, Pennsylvania. We're working one in North Carolina, one in Georgia right now. If it's a state that I haven't worked in, I do want to just check the laws, make sure you don't have to be an attorney or have a specific license in order to negotiate. If I have to, I'm more than happy to go get that specific license. But I always do a little bit of research first, but I'm never afraid to take on a new state or a new process or anything like that. Just give me some grace while we're working through it. And the way you can reach us is my number is 443-844-1446. Or you can send me an email at Rebecca@capitalshortsale.com.
All right, Rebecca. Well, a really great conversation. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome, and I look forward to helping people with their short sales and helping grow real.